Doctor Who Series 11 Episode 6, this week's Doctor Who review. We finally got a Yaz episode. Woo! Finally waiting for this one for 6 whole episodes. Finally, hopefully we're going to get some kind of knowledge about Yaz, like to make her a bit more depth than a worm's grave. But anyway, so look, we've got a lot to talk about. Demons, weird stuff, Yaz, time travel, like history lesson, loads of stuff. Make sure you subscribe to Planet Mark and hit a bell notification to be told of the next Doctor Who upload. We've got all the other 5 episodes so far of this series, our review and my opinions. And of course, I will be giving you my opinion right at the end. So, stick around. So this episode opens up and it's Yaz's nan's birthday. So she's like, oh, just joking around and say she doesn't like the store-bought cake. Yaz's mum, who we already know from that previous episode with one of the spiders, was like, oh no, you know, it's a good cake, blah blah blah. And we kind of like, finally we're getting insight into Yaz's family, actually properly into, as opposed to the other episode which didn't really give anything. So her nan is like really just like showing all these heirlooms, giving people like their presents, but she doesn't really go into much, and she says that she doesn't want to tell the story. So of course Yaz tells the doctor, okay, let's go and, you know, have a look for ourselves. And then we get this like first hint of anybody, basically anybody that has watched Doctor Who before knows the TARDIS is telepathic, but I suppose it's a nice introduction. It's like people that have, you know, this is their first time watching it, saying, yeah, the TARDIS is all alive and it can trace your timeline. And I didn't realise that it could do that before. I don't think we have had that kind of like tracing someone's personal timeline. But anyway, so it used the watch to trace the timeline and could go back, well, in this case, close enough to where it is, and TARDIS is never 100%, so they've kind of got that pretty consistent. So the first thing that happens is they're in the road and they get picked up by some guy who, like, at this point we're thinking, oh, could he be a granddad? And it turns out he's not the granddad, but he's the person that's going to marry her. But Yaz is like, what? This isn't supposed to happen. And again, the doctor is kind of annoying because she does kind of say, well, you know, timelines and things like that, but she doesn't make as big a deal out of it as she should do. And the whole episode, like the title, Demons of the Punjab, now it's like going back in time. Maybe I was hoping that we were going to get some of those demon fly thingies, the Reapers, but even though for some reason they've just not ever came back again, which is annoying, and it just shows that inconsistency. But anyway, I suppose creative influences anyway. So yeah, so she says that, and you know, it's one of those things like that Yaz is trying to like kind of finally finding out that she doesn't know a lot about her past, well, her nan's past in this case. So how can really she know about it? She doesn't, you know, she doesn't actually know. And all these different questions that she has. Also, we get like the camera angle of like somebody watching them, which, you know, I suppose again is leading us to believe like, you know, maybe it is the Reapers, those demon things that are coming back from series 1. I was getting really excited. The music for pretty much the whole entire episode, I don't want to say it was bad. Some of the music for this episode was really, really fitting. And like even like the heartfelt bits, it was really fitting and it fitted with where it was, but it just wasn't very Doctor Who-y. That's what I've been saying for the whole series. It's not very Doctor Who-y, and that there's some like sci-fi bits, but it just doesn't. It feels like it kind of fits the episode, but it doesn't fit the genre, like the whole Doctor Who theme as a whole, which is kind of a bit annoying in a music sense. But that's just a minor setback. There one annoying thing that kind of like did, I mean, I suppose it wasn't really a big thing, but it was to me a bit like no one was asking about like speaking Punjab. I mean, before in series 2 when like the French thing like got translated and why they're speaking English, it's like, and they did it with a bit of Donna as well when she spoke to the Romans and they were all speaking English and she asked, but these guys just didn't ask. And did they just assume that everyone would be speaking English in India/Pakistan? I don't know, but it wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really covered that well. I suppose, again, another minor stuff. I think with this episode, it's just a lot of little minor setbacks as opposed to one big problem with it. I suppose you could kind of say, oh, like they've had lots of adventures outside of us, like they mentioned about the turtles thing before, but still we want to know, we want to hear like these big things, you know, we want to kind of feel like, oh, well, the big information, the important bits, we should be a part of, we should know, you know, that kind of like them discovering that. I thought that'd be quite fun for us to hear. I mean, it's nothing new particularly, it doesn't really make that much of a big difference, but still it would have kind of been nice just in terms of their own arcs. Okay, so another thing with Yaz is like if she's having all these questions, she didn't know a lot about her family. Why is this the first time we've ever really heard? Sure, there's been little like. Sure, you know, when you're writing an arc for a character, surely you'd kind of put those little hints there. It's like, well, I don't really know. You know, in the last episode of the episode before, we're just at the beginning, kind of like hinting to us we've got something exciting to feel for this character. We just didn't get any of that. And yes, like, well, you know, you could at least say, well, I don't really know that much about my family. They came from India, but I don't really know why. And all of these questions, like, why is none of this been put in before? Like, why couldn't we just sprinkled it around? That's what I would have done if I was the writer of, you know, this series, or at least I've had some kind of input, you know, just to really get the audience thinking, oh, you know, she's going to have a little bit, or we need to discover about that. But again, that's just another another, get the third already of this episode, another minor setback. And we soon learn that this episode is all about the partition of India and subsequently Pakistan and like wars. There's a lot. It feels like there's a lot in this episode, but it does feel like a lot like a history lesson, but we're not actually learning that much. We know 1947 there's a partition between India and Pakistan, which you might not have known, but it's still like, I suppose it's more about the human element to it as opposed to the actual learning. But it would have just been nice, like, considering they've got loads of speeches, loads of long, annoying speeches in this episode, which don't really add a lot. They could just had that, just the doctor say, you know, there's two split things, like this happens and this happens, and there's a war, and then that becomes like just running us up to modern day, just so we have a little bit of an insight into some, you know, if we want to research more into that, you can. But you just kind of that one little bit, and that's it, which was just kind of a bit pointless. So at this point, when it first you first know about it's all about partition, you figure, okay, this is going to be a preachy episode, and that's what I was thinking. Okay, this is going to be like another preachy episode, like that spider one. Felt like it was a bit preachy, and it's just trying to make a statement. I mean, by the end of the episode, it didn't really feel like that. Maybe I was just thinking of the whole other episodes, that's what they were, and maybe it was going to be this one as well. It didn't feel. It felt like, you know, like the first Muslim and the Hindu wedding, like coming together, the union, but it wasn't really that preachy. So that's not really a big thing about this episode, although it does feel like it was a bit forced. And then there's a little alteration when there's like the holy man gets shot and he's covered in all this like dust green stuff, which you can't really tell. It looks like at this point that he's being poisoned or some kind of alien goop thing, but then we see the aliens as well that seem pretty menacing at this point. They're all armoured, they seem weird and, you know, just a bit hostile. So to kill this person like just randomly was a bit, you know, odd, or what we thought happened. So they're your baddies for this one, these demons or aliens as we would come to know them. Anyway, then they go off to the woods and they get a Transmat, which was another really nice callback. I think they have used it before this series, but a Transmat as well, a nice callback to series 1, and they haven't really had the Transmat pretty much since then. And I like the Transmat, you know, it made that much of an impact that I could remember it. But anyway, so they go off to the Farlian assassins and they are at their hive. And this is a bit where Prem, who's the person that's supposed to, well, not supposed to marry I want to call it Umbreon, but that's definitely not her name. So we've got Yaz's nan, who he's going to, but he's not the person that she knows that, you know, she's not the granddad of Yaz. But anyway, so she says, so he tells a story at this point you think it's kind of a bit pointless. Maybe, you know, just him talking about his past, but we didn't really need to know. And this alien he sees that comes over them and sprinkles over his brother's dead body. So again, it's not. Okay, you kind of think, okay, what the hell is going on here? I mean, eventually we come to find out, but, and I will get to that in a bit, it's not really being hyped up that much. You know, it's like, it doesn't really raise that many questions. It's like, yeah, he was standing over him, you kind of assume that he was like, killed him, but why him especially? But not really, it doesn't get you that excited as well, which is a bit annoying as well. So then Ryan and Prem disappeared, but reappeared a bit closer, and it turns out that they're kind of repelling them. They're not killing them, they're just repelling them. But that gave the Doctor enough time. I don't know why they didn't send the Doctor back, clearly when the Doctor was the most hostile person, or the person that's like the most biggest threat to them there. But she stole the Transmat, the things that push them away, Transmat locks, and then she runs off. There's also a really nice bit in this kind of alteration where the Doctor is actually getting angry as she tells them that they are under her protection, which is a really, it's as yet finally, yes, we're going to actually get her angry, but then again, yet again, for the 6th, I don't know why I get my hopes up every single time, but the Doctor is just getting brushed under the mat every time, and it's just annoying. The fact they keep saying, oh yeah, the Doctor, she could, is showing that she possibly could be a little bit more deep, but she's not. And then when she has a few more emotions other than just joking, they just brush it over. She has like 10 seconds of that actual anger and seriousness, and that's it. I know she can't be serious the whole time, I wouldn't like that either, but show some depth. And then you see the Doctor screaming at them to get into the barn, and they use the transmats to move them out of the barn, so lock them out, kind of like how they got locked out of the hive. So that was like her using their technology against them, which was good. Then we had this really nice conversation between Yaz and Graham, where they're talking about, I didn't know anything about, and Yaz is actually upset. So finally we're seeing like some actual good emotion from Yaz. It is her kind of questioning herself as a little bit of like an arc, but that's about it, and that's about as far as it goes for her. Considering this is literally this is the 2nd episode we've had looking into her family, but not really her, and we still have very little to know about Yaz, which is annoying. But Bradley, well, she says like, you just gotta live your life and in the moment, which I suppose was a nice message. And Bradley Walsh has been given some really nice speeches. Probably out of all of them, they're given the Doctor has been given a lot of like really annoyingly long and pointless speeches. But it seems like Bradley Walsh's speeches all have some kind of a purpose. Considering he's like the Joker guy, he does seem like he's the nicest one out of all of them. I suppose what you could say Graham's arc is that he's a cancer survivor, which you already know that, and he's kind of like passing that on to her, saying, his knowledge on, saying, you could think, why me, why not me, why do I not know, like what happened, why has she not told us all this thing, or you could just kind of live your life in the moment and then just not really worry about other people, and that's a good message for him to really say, and that's what I got from that. And again, his arc is probably the most that we've had so far. Before, I thought it was Ryan, but I actually now have gone on to thinking that it's Graham who's had the biggest arc. All the meantime, the sonic screwdriver stops working because of plot, which is a really annoying Deus Ex Machina, as in it just stops working. And she says something like, oh, it's been like there's too many ports, or something like that it's just stopped working, even though it happened in the exactly last episode, and it came back alive when plot needed it to come back alive. It was another one of those things, it's like, why bother having the sonic screwdriver if it's not gonna work? And it's been working the entire, all the other 10 series have never had a problem. This Doctor, twice in one season, in 2 episodes straight, it loses it. And then the Doctor says this really funny, I suppose it's a bit more complicated than it first seemed, which is like talking about when she was a man, and obviously this is 1947 India, and talking about gender swapping at that point was a bit, a bit awkward. So I suppose that it was, it was kind of a bit funny, but at the same time, the other team didn't really think like they knew what was actually going on, what she meant by that. So maybe she just hasn't told them yet, which I really hope they actually show that, because that will be really like, what the hell? I mean, she did mention it in the first episode when she's like, oh, half an hour I was a rambling Scottish man, but, they were like, what? And I suppose at this time they're like, what? Maybe they're just not really getting that she's an actual proper alien yet. And then the aliens, or the assassins, break through the Transmat locks, and we finally get them actually their story, what's happened to them, and it turns out the aliens actually aren't evil at all. They just went back to their old home after actually assassinating people, and it turns out that the whole race has been turned into dust. So they, for some reason, used time to honour the, for everybody in the whole of history who had no one else there, to like honour them and throw this dust over them. That's what they use their time travel for. I mean, I knew that it wasn't just the Time Lords that can use time, but it just doesn't seem that she was that bothered about them being able to use the time vortex. And that's why they were standing over the person, like Prem's brother, and he saw them because they had no one else, even though Prem was there, which was a bit, well, why? This just seems like it was just, well, there was very little build-up, very little point, and not a very threatening alien. For an alien that seemed pretty angry and like pretty, I know, like maybe the whole point of this is supposed that war is more dangerous. It's not the alien that's going to kill you, it's like people that are going to kill you. But it's just not very Doctor Who-y. I know that people say, oh well, you know, like change is good, blah blah blah, and like this is real, this is what actually happened, this is historically accurate. But at the same time, it's not Doctor Who, it's not escapism. Again, and you know, we want these sci-fi stories, and none of these are really being sci-fi stories. And what's going to happen to those aliens now? Because they obviously aren't happening now. Why at that one particular time? It wasn't really clear why that happens. And then they tell the Doctor like what happened with the Holy Man who killed him, but we didn't get to know until a bit later on. I suppose that this episode is very relevant because it's the Armistice Day. Maybe that's like, I mean, it might just be coincidence or just very clever scheduling why it got put then. But anyway, that was, you know, it is nice and in that respect. And then we get this like heartfelt speech from Prem about the splitting of like India and Pakistan. But again, it's just a lot of speech. Like, where was all the action in this? You know, show us the action. Show us what actually happened. You know, you can use your words. Sometimes words are the most powerful thing, but not this. Not in this way. I mean, like, it is nice to see like how it actually affects, but you could do that with images so much more effectively and so much more powerfully as well. It just didn't work for me, and it's another annoying thing, a little niggly thing that just annoyed me about this episode. We had a whole war going on, and you know, Partition, you know, well, you should have shown that. You should have shown, you know, more people getting angry, and that's what I would have done. That's what I would have like to have seen. That's why I kind of imagined it instead of everybody just like, you know, kind of being okay about it and just having a few mobs around. Another really annoying bit about this episode was just the acting of, oh, I forget her name, Umbri, you know, Yaz's Nan, just whoever acted her was just so bad. It was just like really like stiff and cardboard. It's just like, where was your passion? Like, it was not just her. It was a lot of the actors, a lot of the like, kind of like secondary characters in this episode. And Manishs was terrible. All these actors, you know, like, come on, you must have been able to get much better actors than these guys, because they were just not good at all. I did not like it. I just kind of felt like they were wasted, or they just didn't really care about the role. I just felt like when Manishs was ever talking, it was just he was reading out of the script. It's like, well, where's the real actor? Oh, well, okay, well, he's not showing up today. Alright, one of the extras, you just say the lines, okay? That's what it felt like, and it was just, ugh. So the Doctor does this speech, they does the service, and I would have thought they would really like play to this strip and make it really relevant. But it didn't. It was just very general, very forgettable, and it wasn't very spacey at all. So the Doctor would have said like, you know, something like really like mathematical and cool, and everyone would be like, what the hell are you on about? Just really just generally like normal Doctor Who-y, or stuff saying about like planets or solar system or whatever. They said, but she said something like, oh, you know, this is the greatest couple in the universe, but that was about it. That just seemed like it's such a cop-out, and it's like, come on. You know, they've really built up. You finally got the Doctor doing a marriage, and it's just completely wasted. And then Prem drops the watch, and it's stuck in that time. That's why she's carrying around a broken watch. It's too significant. That was their exact moment. It would have been nicer if it was something a bit better. I mean, it was sentimental, but not really that good. You know, if he died of it or something weird, or he was shocked, or I don't know. I suppose maybe it means a lot more to Muslims because it was like it's a traditional wedding thing. Like, I forget what they called it, but maybe that's just me. And then we found out that it was Manishs that shot the Holy Man before, and just the aliens like sprinkled the dust on him, and that's why they were doing that, because Manishs killed him. And you know, now you're kind of seeing that Manishs is going to kill his brother, or be part of the death of his brother. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't be like that, it would be something else, but no, that's pretty much what happened. He just got something else to shoot his brother. And then they get out of this bit, and then Yaz's Nan gets out this big mat, and like wherever her finger lands on, that's where she's going to live. Lives in, and it stands on Sheffield. I was like, huh? Oh yeah, of course, she moved to Sheffield. That's kind of thinking, well, do we really need a reason why they're living in Sheffield? I mean, we don't have a reason why Ryan is living in Sheffield. But at the same time, I don't feel like I need a reason why he's living in Sheffield, or why Graham's living in Sheffield. Why is that such a big thing for them to be? There's loads of people living in Sheffield, like Indian nature or Indian origin. Like, you don't really need to know why there were. I don't see why they tried to make this a big thing, or you know, why they bothered putting that in. They could just had as one line. You know, I think it just landed on Sheffield one day. I suppose Yaz was the one like pointed out and said, "Why is there a mark on Sheffield?" And she just told her, kind of linking that to that. But it was just very yawn. And then Manish kills Prem, or he gets him killed. Which I suppose this episode is like a very good metaphor for war, as it's just horrible, it's pointless, and it doesn't make you feel it's not a satisfying ending because of that, and it just makes you kind of feel a bit bad. You know, this isn't, again, Doctor Who's supposed to be about escapism, and just didn't feel like that with this episode. And you know, and then I suppose we go back to Yaz like speaking to her nan, just saying I love you. I suppose that was a little bit of a nicer way to end the episode. This was the Yaz episode. We finally had the Yaz episode we've been waiting for, and it wasn't about Yaz. We still know nothing about Yaz. We know her grandma's history, but we don't know her. That doesn't explain her arc or anything like that, because she didn't know any of that stuff beforehand. So why did we have to learn it? Why do we have to learn like what happened there? And the aliens just weren't good. Like the acting was bad. The music was okay, it was fitting, but it wasn't Doctor Who-y. There was a lot of really small, annoying things that really affected this episode. So, what do I think? Well, now we come to my rating. So, just putting all of that like into consideration, what I thought it was better than last week's episode, but it was a bigger letdown. You know, like last week's episode didn't really build it up too much. But this one, there was just so much letdown. You know, there was these aliens. We had the demons. That's what I was thinking. And then maybe it's just my way of thinking that, you know, if we have like time changes, people like screwing up other people's timeline. Well, Yaz's timelines, and that would have been a much better way to go than the way they actually went. And no one, you know, the aliens weren't any threat at all. So I'm gonna place this I'm just gonna have to put it as another 4 out of 10. It was just one of those episodes that it was just very forgettable, and it's such a big letdown. We've been waiting for ages for a Yaz episode. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I want to know what's your opinion. Tell me in the comments section below. But before you do, make sure you subscribe to Planet Mark and hit that bell notification to be told of the next great Doctor Who review. Every Sunday, as soon as it finishes, we do these videos uploaded on the day, around 10 o'clock-ish, as soon as possible, as soon as I can, really. So anyway, I want to hear from you. Tell me, what did I get wrong? What did I get right? You let me know, and tune in for like any other Doctor Who stuff. Always let me know if there's any other things you'd like me to do, or any other like Doctor Who or rankings, like other episodes you want me to go back, any other series. Let me know. So follow us on Twitter at PlanetMarkVlog or Facebook.com/PlanetMarkVlog. See you next one, guys. Bye 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 bye.